Well, hello everybody, and welcome to CLAldridgeArt. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Christine Aldridge. I am an artist. I do draw coloring book pages. I did not draw this page. However, we'll get back to that in a second. I just wanted to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I hope that you had a glorious day, that you are stuffed full of turkey, and whether you had it alone or whether you had it in a crowd, I hope that your day has been a good one. Welcome to the show, or welcome to the video. I realized on my Sunday stream, we talked a lot about a serious topic, which is COPPA, the new Child Online Privacy Protection Act, or not, it's not new, but it's making some changes that will likely affect us, but, or not, as the case may be. But I completely forgot that it was Guest Artist Sunday, and I had fully intended to color the beautiful work of my dear friend Marty Woods. Marty is an artist who lives in Malaysia, I believe, and has a series of books out. Links are below in the description. One of them is Color the Rainforest, and I think there are 2 or 3 more, but I will put links down there. And there are also links to Marty's Etsy shop where you can buy digital PDFs of some of his work, not the print books, because those are all printed through Penguin, and he doesn't do the digital books through his own site. But he has drawn a brand new series of mandalas, and they are absolutely fantastic. There's a set of 20. It is reasonably priced, and it is absolutely wonderful. I did purchase 2 of them from him directly, and I am going to be coloring this one today in some Christmas colors. And then I have this one, which is screaming out to me for purples and sea blues, and purples and turquoise blues and golds, and maybe pink or something in the center flower. But we're not going to color that today. But I did want to show you. Oh, and I am so happy that I have finally done it. This is a very odd looking drawing, isn't it? This is when I am trying to finish a book, and the last thing that I have not done are just a few mandalas for it. I don't, except for the book that's labeled 40 favorite mandalas, I only put a few mandalas in each of the books that I release. So the new book, which will be coming out, if not in time for, I don't think it's going to be in time for Black Friday, but I do believe that it may be in time for Cyber Monday. We're going to keep our fingers crossed, and I'll have more on that on my regular Sunday show, which will go on. But this is the last 4 mandalas for that book. I did draw it simultaneously all at once. I only did a quarter of each one, and I did it all on one page. Now, this is what I call a quad. I've only ever done about 3, I think this is the 3rd one, quads, and that is where I'm simultaneously drawing 4 distinct pages that are intended to go to be expanded out. So that is what this is. I also usually include this original in the book, so that people can color it if they want to, or they can use it to work out their colors for the full size one, whichever the case may be. But this was so much fun to draw. I got to tell you, it really was. I drew it concentrically. I literally drew all four sections at the same time. I'd work a little bit on this one, and then a little bit on that one, and a little more on this one, and a little more on that one. And so all the way around. And I'm really super pleased because by now I've edited it and I know what they look like together, and they're all gorgeous. Every single one of them is absolutely gorgeous. So look for those in my next book. Let me pull out my swatch book and some colors from my CLAart set. We're going to use CLAart markers and a little bling today. So stand by. This is actually going to be my first Food for Thought video series. And it's going to cover a wide range of topics, including new things that I've learned about COPPA and how it ultimately can affect us, but why I don't believe that any of the adult coloring channels or even most of the diamond painting channels or anything like that are in any danger. It is my personal opinion, but I'll discuss in length why. We'll also talk about how to use YouTube Studio, because I do think that it is important, and some of the answers that will ease your mind about the implementation of COPPA can certainly be found in Studio, in the tools that they give us there. And also I'll talk about that, especially how it's accessible to not only those like me that use a laptop or a laptop or a desktop computer, but also to those who shoot their videos using their mobile devices or may not have access to video editing or anything like that. There is a version of it that is available for your phones. It is different than the YouTube app. It's something you have to download. I'll talk about that. I am also finally going to talk about an incident that happened this summer. I'm not going to talk about the details, but I am going to talk about some very interesting things that have happened around it in the last couple days. And of course, ultimately, I'm going to talk about all the things that I didn't talk about before as to what enduring a personal affront or a personal attack can do to your head. And so we will talk about all of that in just a moment. Please stay with me. I'll be right back. Okay, and welcome back. All right, now this is my swatch book, and it is shows here on one page all 100 of the CLAart markers, which I have my dear subscriber Melinda to thank for the fact that these are sitting on my desk and available to me. This is not a sponsored video, but I do have to say that I do make a lot of CLAart videos because they are the only set of markers that I have, but I love them. And I do love alcohol markers. Now, the colors that I picked out are the geranium and vermilion. Let's see here. The 317 deep red and the 218. Okay, this is the 218 geranium. This is the 338 argyle. That's the other one that I picked. So I'm looking for Christmas greens. I also picked, just as a lightener, the 107, which is the vermilion. The 317, which is the deep red. So I have 4 reds, 2 golds, which are the pastel and the yellow. So the number 314 and the number 204. And then I have 4 greens here. And these are the, oh lordy, old eyes, don't you know? These are the Bud Green 606, the Horizon Green G012, G127, the Emerald Green down here, and lastly the 945, which is this gorgeous deep dark green here. As you can see, the, oh, that is, does that say 945? Yes, it does. Okay, as you can see, the cap and the color have no correlation. So you do need to watch that when you are using your markers. Don't rely on the cap color to be the right color. Always have a swatch. And so that's, you don't have to have a swatch, but I like to have a swatch so that I don't have to remember which ones don't have cap colors that match. And I'm going to keep that handy just so I'm going to stand it right out here in front of me so that I have a visual reference of where I'm going with this thing. Because Lord knows once I start to talk, I'll stop paying attention to what I'm doing. So I'm going to start with this. I'm going to start from the center. And obviously my deepest, darkest color is going to be in the center. So I'm going to pick up my Argyle, which I do believe is this one. The R338, yes. And I'm going to go for that. So I'm just going to, you don't have to use a marker with a hard pressure or anything like that. And Marty has even grayscaled these for us a little bit. So there'll be some nice shadow and shading that's just sort of automatically happening there. And I happen to love Marty's work. It is very detailed, line-intensive work. You do not need to feel like you need to color in each space a different color. Use washes, and I have just found that to be really, really helpful advice. To use, you know, color washes as opposed to worrying about, you know, coloring each little thing, in each little space a different color. Although if that floats your boat, go ahead and do that. That doesn't really work for me. So, all right, now I am going to start with a bit of a lighter red. So I'm going to pick the deep red, which is the R317, to do the next part of the flower, because I want to put darker little highlights in. So I will do that. It is also always a good idea to be working on a plastic mat or several sheets of paper, because this is cardstock, 110-pound cardstock, but as you can see, it does bleed through. Obviously, it didn't bleed through to the other page, but it's just good to be working on a, you know, like something along the lines of one of your page protectors for your books. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about CAPA. One of the visitors to Sunday's show was a young lady called Crafty Kitty, and she pointed out that there was a card or an arts and craft channel called, oh, it's in the, it's pink something, at any rate. And so she was saying that none of us in the crafting side need to be worried about CAPA because of this video that Ian Corzine, who is a social media attorney, had put out about this secret phone call that he had received from a informant, you know, saying that YouTube wasn't being completely honest with us. Well, I did watch both her video and the Ian Corzine video, and I urge everybody to do so. However, I had already seen the Hogue Law video, which also acknowledged the general audience exception, but also, acknowledged that YouTube doesn't yet have the internal systems in place to allow us to take advantage of the general audience exemption. So it became a moot point until and unless YouTube develops an age gate to actually check the ages of people coming into general audience videos so that they know who to and who not to get information from. So it unfortunately doesn't alleviate the issue. But in the bigger picture, there have been a lot of videos made around it, and people are actually starting to apply logic now, finally. Our first stop on any journey is to sort of immediately go to the panic worst case scenario side. But now that some calmer voices are starting to be heard, the stuff that they're having to say, or that they have to say, is much more hopeful and promising. And I maintain absolutely that the FTC are not thugs. They are not out to put little channels out of business. They are out, however, to protect children. And there are some really, really interesting things going on around that. Now, through all of the stuff that I've watched in the last few days, I had, especially at sort of the height of people just panicking. I'm going to zoom you down a little bit here so that you can actually see what I'm working on. Let me just hit autofocus. Make sure that I am in focus. Just 1 second while I do that. I'll edit out this focusing part. Okay, that looks pretty good. I heard a couple of people refer to an incident that happened last year on YouTube around this same time. Now, I'm not going to say the name of it, but it went, insert here, the name of the most popular Disney character in the last 20 years for little girls. We all know who she was, right? Dash Gate. So it was blank gate. And what it was some very, very bad actors, very, very bad actors, had put a series of animations that were completely not child appropriate up on YouTube Kids. And they were there for quite a long time. And they were, most often, they were foreign, offshore, foreign country productions. How they managed to make it past the screening of stuff that's appropriate for YouTube Kids, I don't know, and it's not really stated anywhere. I looked into it only very briefly until I saw what it was about, and I went, oh, holy cow, that was terrible. It was porn for kids, and featuring kids, and some of the messages that were being posted in comments and things like that were just, as a parent, I would have just been so angry. I would have been so angry that my child had been subjected to such a thing. I mean, I really would have. So, I don't know if that was the basis for these protected protective groups to to get in touch with YouTube or not, or make complaint to the FTC. I don't know if that was a catalyst. Most people say nay, that it really wasn't. It was just sort of time. Now, the other thing that was very interesting is that I spent a good deal of time and I read some, and this was just a couple days ago, yesterday, as a matter of fact. I read some of the comments to the FTC that preceded our, the craft community, sort of the craft and toys and stuff like that sort of preceded all of us, our comments. And one lady had some very valid concerns. Google Chrome, or Google, provides laptops to schools. And those Google Chrome laptops were tracking the viewing habits of kids, and those kids were being served up ads that kind of shook the parents up, as far as it was very obvious that their child's viewing habits were being tracked, that kind of thing. And a lot of people are very fussy about privacy. I think in a digital world that we do have some real issues around privacy. Some people think it's very convenient to be shopping for a refrigerator and then suddenly start seeing deals for refrigerators come up on their media devices, but it isn't always appropriate for kids, especially if it's something that they may desire but perhaps can't afford. Those types of issues. So anyway, I think that the concerns of the parents in those particular cases are entirely valid, but that's just me, and I don't want anybody to say that that was my last stand on it, because I think parents have to make the decisions for their children. I also think that parents do need to be responsible for the fact that they put the internet in their child's pocket. Literally, these kids are carrying around the internet in the front pocket of their jeans. And, parents need to get real with that. But also, that is my personal opinion. It has nothing to do with COPPA. But one of the crafting videos that I saw, that I watched, who did a reaction, made a lot of really, really good points. And that is, when we apply the verbiage of the ruling, which says, how do you know if your child or if your content is made for children, what is your intent when you make your content? Are you aiming it at children? For the vast majority of us, the answer is no. Whether we're coloring and doing adult coloring in a Disney coloring book or not, we are not making our content with children in mind. I mean, most of us live stream, and certainly a lot of the events, like the Disney Colorathon, were live streamed events. We didn't aim those at kids. I didn't participate in that particular one, but I'm just using it as an example. That wasn't aimed at children. And the content of the live stream conversation certainly wasn't aimed at children. And that, there is a lot to be said for intent. On the other hand, there's another video out there where the woman's husband is an attorney, and he says that, it doesn't matter your intent. um, you could still be affected. So it is just a ton of stuff to think about. But one of the other things that we have at our disposal are, and now that all of us have been switched over, at least we should all have been switched over to YouTube Studio, is the analytics. And so we have access to our demographic. We know who's watching our channel and what age they are because those people have been tracked. Now, when I looked at my demographics, mine say that 100% of my audience is over the age of 50. Or, maybe not 100%, but a small enough percentage would be outside would be outside of that as to be negligible. In other words, not even count as 1% of my watch time hours. And so it does show up. I think it's actually ages 54 to 60, or I think that category is 45 to 60. I could be wrong. At any rate, so I have empirical evidence that I don't have children watching my show. Nor do I aim it at children. Even if I drew animated characters, still not aiming it at children, have a demographic that shows that I don't have kids watching my show. Now, obviously, you all need to check your own demographics, but that now brings me to the second point. So I guess the bottom line is, for me, on COPPA, I am a lot less concerned about the FTC than I am about making sure that if I do have any false positive flags from the YouTube system, that I am getting back to, I'm first determining why I think it might have gotten flagged, correcting whatever that issue might have been, whether it's my metadata or my, description in the video. Did I say it's a child's coloring book? If I did a review, that kind of thing. I'm definitely going, if I get any false flags, I'm definitely going to hit that send feedback button to YouTube, explain why I believe it's a false positive, because I also truly believe that that is how they teach these automated systems. If you want to have less false positives, you have to first generate some false positives so you know what's kicking it off. Then they can make the appropriate adjustments inside the system so that it finds less and less false positives and lands mostly on the actual positives. So I think it is important that if you do get a flag, that you basically, first look into what might have caused it, fix the problem, and then definitely hit the feedback. And explain what it is that you think caused it, what you did to fix it, and explain that you would like a review of that video. And it could once again, have comments and stuff like that restored. Now, my understanding is that even for those people that have not necessarily marked it for kids, there are still comments. I don't know. I haven't marked any of mine for kids, so I don't really know. I'm now using the darkest of the reds to just sort of add a little bit of color in to the deeper part of this. So now that brings me to YouTube Studio. Now I know that a lot of live streamers probably just hit the button, live stream, and maybe do their, because I see a whole lot of live streams going on, but they don't have anything in the description, except what they put into the little form when they start up their live stream. So, and I know that they might not be familiar with YouTube Studio because they don't have a lot of stuff written in their descriptions that just shows up over and over and over again. And that's all in your upload defaults. And that is only accessible either from Studio or from Classic. But I'm talking specifically about Studio, which is no longer beta. It is, there is Classic YouTube is still there, but the YouTube Studio is now the norm. The beta, what was the beta, is now the norm. Now, it never had really occurred to me that it was different for laptops and mobile devices until I wanted to access my YouTube account, my YouTube video account on my Apple iPhone. And I ended up having to go to the Apple iStore, or the Apple Store, and download, hang on, let me find it. Okay, there. And download YouTube Studio, which sits right next to YouTube. So it is a separate app, YouTube Studio. And if I hit Studio, it now brings me into my channel where my dashboard is. And, you can see I've earned a total of $11.26 in ad revenue so far this month. And I've only been monetized since last Sunday. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, or last Saturday, I guess. Anyway, but it's then got all your videos and comments and all of that. You can view more, and it takes you to real-time activity. You've got your overview, all of those types of things. Now, obviously, your channel settings are in your YouTube, but your analytics are in YouTube Studio. And so if you want to see, let me go back to the dashboard. And I want to go videos. Okay, wait. That's comments. View more. Okay, wait. All right, let me go view more. That's view more videos, I think. That is not what I want. Not what I want. Let's see. General analytics, yes. All right, so now there I am. Real-time views. What am I looking at? Watch time minutes. So, okay, there's our watch time. You can see it always peaks on Sundays. Sorry. Views. Tells you your views, your average view duration. So, the duration is they view 19 minutes, 11 seconds each time, which tells me that people are watching my videos in 20-minute chunks. Views. Let's see. I would have to, okay, so that's real time. It actually gives you real-time views and all of that. I don't want this. I want this to go away. How do you make it go away? There we go. All right, so we're going to go back over there. Discovery. What is discovery? Traffic source types. So, oh, there we go. Okay, so there's the navigation bar up there. Apparently it moves back and forth like this. Okay, so you want to go over here to your audience. And it shows me right there. 13 to 17, 0. 18 to 24, 0. 25 to 34, 0. 35 to 44, 0. 45 to 54, 49% of my audience is from 45 to 54 years of age. 55 to 64 is 51% of my audience. So I can tell at a glance that my audience is 100% female, although I'm sure Gary would be upset because I know he's a guy, between the ages of 45 and 64. I don't have anything to worry about. I have empirical evidence provided to me by YouTube that there are no kids watching my show. I can also tell you that 5.6% of my viewers are from the United Kingdom, and all the rest are from America, or most of the rest are from America, because that's 72.4%, which means that there is a missing, that's what, 77%, so there's a missing 23% that are from other places in the world. So you've got this at your fingertips. All you need to do is download it. And it is so full of really cool stuff. So I've got interactive comments, teaser clicks per card teaser shown. There's 2.9. I've started adding those info cards in my videos. Those types of things. There's my playlists, audience. The only playlist, okay, so the number of times playlists were viewed, 13 in the last 28 days. Video views in playlists, 28. That's cool, because the playlist that I always push is my book flips. That tells me that people are watching the book flips, and the numbers bear that out. Average time in the playlist is 14 minutes and 45 seconds. So that's cool. My top playlist is my CLAldridgeArt live color and chats. Next is book flips. There's 61 there. The next one is 41. And coloring techniques demonstrations is 37. About me is 32. That's a really good percentage, or a good count. So it's all right here in your analytics. Everything that you want to know about who's watching your channel, when and why, how long they're watching, at what point in time did you lose your audience. All of this is so important to know and understand if you want to grow your channel. Or if you want to find out if you're under risk, for COPPA. Because it's all right there. Ooh. So now we've covered that subject. And I'm not ready to talk about the other one yet, so we're just going to go talk about coloring. I do hope that if you enjoy this channel, obviously I don't talk about serious issues all the time, but for these last few videos, it has certainly been the topic of conversation. But if you just love to color something pretty, please do consider subscribing to my channel and ringing that bell for notifications so that you never miss a video. You can also follow me on social media at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I'm in all three places. And I know that there's supposed to be a thing for the, let me turn that off. Okay, yeah. We know about that. Go back to the main view. There we makes those disappear. Uh, I'm not always perfect with my studio software, but I'm trying to learn to use it a little bit better. I did want to just touch briefly on something that I didn't say I was going to talk about, but which I know that a few people have been concerned about lately especially, and that is this change in the terms of service, which is actually going to go into effect on December 10th. Now, as we know, December 10th is supposedly the date that they're going to release these bots into the system. And also, it's the date the terms of service change. And these two things are tied together. And they are that if your channel is not considered commercially viable to YouTube, in other words, they can't make any money on you, that you are subject to cancellation at any time. Now, I did also watch Hogue Law on this. I like that channel. I like the fact he doesn't give legal opinions, but he does discuss issues. And of course, terms of service is something that is right up his bailiwick. And all the attorneys seem to agree that this isn't something new. This is something that YouTube has always had the power to do. They just decided to bring it forward into clearer language for all of us to understand, especially in light of the idea that if they discover, repeat offenders or stuff like that under this new ruling, that they're going to have to delete channels. They've obviously done so in the past with the porn things. Oh, that was just awful, guys. And in the name of the most popular cartoon character that they've come up with in a lot, or animated character that Disney had come up with, it was just heartbreaking. I watched some of the videos where the guys were showing the people who basically started discovering and reporting this to YouTube, and they were showing some examples of the types of videos and the types of thumbnails especially, and comments that were being found, and they were code. One of them even said, bring her to the, or, meet me in the parking lot, bring her, and it was written in a code. Whoa. Yeah. So those people are they've gotten rid of all of that. That's all been taken care of. Obviously, that did not make the national news, but it's known here on YouTube between those few. So I'm glad that I didn't know anything about it. I'm also glad that I was able to discover it, or at least discover what the cartoon character's name Gate was about, because I heard it mentioned by more than one person. The other channel that I have started to watch is Daryl Eves. Now, I had sort of stayed away from watching Daryl Eves for a while. He is another one of the big how-to YouTube, like Nick Nimmin is. Nick and Daryl make different kinds of content, but both are valuable to those of us who, are pretty serious about making videos and growing channels and things like that. And he's got such a wealth of information, of history. He's been around since YouTube started. He's one who generally makes a phone call and can talk to YouTube. He's got a wall full of the gold buttons, which you get, from YouTube when you reach 100,000 subscribers or 500,000 subscribers, something like that. 200. I know that Alex got one for his first 100,000. subscribers, Alex at Curiosity Inc. But by the time that it arrived, he already had like 155, well on his way to 2. So it's guys like that draw big, big subscriberships get a lot of benefits. They get a lot of direct access to the folks at YouTube that, generally you and I don't get. Like the ability to just pick up the phone and talk to somebody. That all come once a channel gets monetized. There are 3 levels. There's the bronze, the silver, and the gold. Right now, at just having been turned on for monetization, I am a bronze, and I'll stay that way until I get to 10,000 subscribers. Should that ever happen, I will be delighted. Absolutely delighted. But I do hope, and I try, and it is my intention and plan to bring value to the community, as well as show off my beautiful books and the beautiful drawing work of artists like Marty, and how fun it is to color. I use the lighter on the outside, and I'm using this darker on the inside, these little ones of this gold, and then I'm going to bling this out with some pretty gold watercolors. But for right now, I'm just putting down color. Just putting down straight color. And I think I'll put a little of it in these as well, just because I can. Ultimately, this will look a little more Christmassy once I start putting the greens in. I hope. I do hope. So for all of you, hopefully, who have been stuffed with turkey, hopefully you haven't succumbed to the tryptophan yet, which is a chemical in turkey which makes us all sleepy after a big meal. I don't know if I'm going to get any turkey this year, but if my neighbor happens to think about bringing over turkey is not one of those things that you cook when you live, singly, because what would you do with the rest of it? You could freeze it, but you could only eat so much of it before it started to get that funky freezer. I don't like frozen cooked meat anyway. So there we go. So I've been talking to my friend Virginia and picking out the colored cover for my next book. It is a spectacular cover, guys. You are going to love it. You are absolutely going to love it. Okay. Now, let's pick a green. And we want a dark green for these little leaves on the inside. So, believe it or not, the darkest green is this 945, which is dark green. This is the one that the cap does not match the color in any way. And I wanted to say a special thank you to my dear friend, Ian. No, I did not forget her name. But I have some dear friends that have been in contact over the last couple of days. I was trying to remember which one said what, who wrote a lovely comment on my Sunday stream that asked me to please not cry for her having deleted all her videos, that she's enjoying her fresh start. So I'm going to take her at her word, and I'm not going to feel badly, for her. And I'm going to just go with the idea that she is just happy to, be making up all new content for all of us to enjoy. I like this color. I love this mandala. I gotta tell you, Marty did just such a spectacular job. And his Etsy shop is so cool. I think it's called Hello Marty Woods. And the link is down there in the description as well. And in case you guys are wondering why I don't always know the links, I don't put them in until after I've done the actual editing of the video. So as I'm editing this video, I will go through it and I will see all the places where I need to put in a link or where I said I'll put in a link, and then I'll have to, write them down so I know which links to go get to put in the description before I upload the video. And hopefully I am staying on screen, because I have to admit, I have not been paying attention to that as I get to yakking away. I've also been watching some very, very cool simple watercolor designs for hand painting Christmas cards. So I am going to be making a video about that, and I'm going to actually hand paint some cards and use some of those fantastic supplies that Morticia sent me. And Morticia Bakken, who is a subscriber to my channel, blessed me with a number of gorgeous watercolors and whole pans full of them. So, and lots of watercolor papers to try. I also have watercolor paper that I bought a pad of that I saw over on Dee Dee's channel, and oh my gosh, Dee Dee's channel this week has been such fun. For 2 days, she did hand painted envelopes for her watchers. And the way that it worked is that she would pick one person, and that person would start it off. They would select an animal. Dee Dee would then draw the animal on the envelope, paint it with watercolors, add some Christmas bling to it, and then the person who got that one would name the next person. And thus it would go. And so one person wanted a Christmas frog. Now, I only saw it on Wednesday. I didn't see the Monday show, but I've got it in my queue to watch back later. And I'm trying not to shake my camera, but obviously I am. So yesterday, which was the one I watched, the first person which was Kimberly, Kimberly 557. Sorry, I'm outing you, Kimberly, but it was so cute. Requested a Christmas frog. And so Dee Dee did an absolutely fantastic Christmas frog. And then the next person wanted a moose. So Dee Dee drew a moose, and the moose was pretty fantastic. He had stuff hanging off his antlers. And the next person wanted a sheep. And a sheep drinking tea. Oh, a sheep. And she had missed her turn because she was off getting tea. So Dee Dee made the sheep drink tea. drew the sheep drinking tea, and it was absolutely fantastic. So, you guys, you got to go over and watch it. And then one of the people asked for an eye. Of course, we had to look that up on the internet to find out what an eye is. Turns out it's a sort of rodent creature. But yesterday she drew the eye, a skunk, a sheep, a jackrabbit. A jackrabbit. There was a jackrabbit and a bunch of other stuff. And then, of course, I didn't realize she'd already done one like it on Monday as well. So I think that we all have some watching to do. If you missed it, be sure to check out Dee Dee Willingham's channel and watch the really cool stuff. See how pretty this is going to be? Ooh, I am loving it. So this is the, okay, so that one was the dark green. This one is the emerald green. So they're slightly different greens, both dark, obviously. Excuse me, I have two more. Okay, now I suddenly realized that I had used my two darkest greens, and I still needed, there was a third leaf set back here, and so I needed to add a darker green still, because it's back behind all the others. So I grabbed out the number 962. That's not it. This one, the number 962, which is this chromium green. It's really dark. So I'm going to give it a try back here in these little guys. So, everybody, what are the things that you are thankful for today? Obviously, the Canadians had their Thanksgiving, and UK doesn't do Thanksgiving. But for those of you who are American, what are your things that you're thankful for? Feel free to put them in the comments. I am really thankful that I am here to to talk with you all. That my health is good, and that the lights are on. At least for till the end of this month, and the internet still works, and I was able to finish a new book, and it's almost that's my project for later tonight and tomorrow is getting that book submitted for publishing. So I'm thankful for a lot of things. My friend came through my friend in Arizona came through a very serious surgery this year. She's well on her way to on the mend. She was able to cook for her family today, which is just amazing. And to the best of my knowledge, everybody else in the fam is in good health and happy, and hopefully all of you are too. I'm a little concerned for another friend whose son is kind of ill right now, and it's up in the air as to whether or not he'll need a surgery. So we're praying for him and keeping him in our thoughts. But one of the things I am really, really really thankful for is a message that I received just yesterday. Or I saw it just yesterday. It actually had come in a day before. From a subscriber. And one that I have missed being here on my Sunday shows. And I'm not going to say who it is. It's not who you think. I would love it if it was, but it's not Little Pickle. Hopefully she will someday, though, write to me. This one is from someone else, and I won't read you the message in its entirety, but what I will do is talk about it just a little bit, because it meant the world to me. And it was about what happened this summer. It says, Hi, Christine. I've been mulling whether or not to send this message, and today I just said do it. I feel like I owe you an apology. When all the craziness started, no one really knew what was going on. Everyone was talking and pointing fingers and blaming everyone else. We all got pulled into the absolute thug mentality that had become so prevalent. I did also, and I listened to people that I shouldn't have, trusted people that didn't have anyone's best interest at heart, except their own, and became blinded to my own ears and eyes. I separated myself from you, thinking that you had committed some kind of offense, which you did not. I let you down, but most importantly, I let myself down. I sincerely apologize to you. And I gotta say that I sat here and cried like a baby when that message came in. Because it had been a long time coming, you know. It's not the only one that I've received, but it is the only one from somebody who is not directly involved, who, basically admitted shunning me and realizing later that I had done nothing wrong. And if you don't know what this is all about, you don't really need to, because that's not what I want to talk about. What I do want to talk about is, and because it happened with this COPPA thing too, or this COPA thing. Why are we as human beings always so willing to go to the dark side? To believe the nastiness, to believe the worst case scenario. It's, I'm guilty of it. Heck, I saw that stuff about COPPA and I was like panicked right coming out the gate, which is why but my go-to position, or my go-to whenever I am panicked about anything, is education. I need to find out who did what happened, tell me why this happened, and that way I can better understand how to deal with it. And so that's why, when the COPPA thing started, the first thing I did was go right to the documents, right to the source documents to find out what the heck was going on. And I really, as I said in my FTC letter, I really did read all that stuff. I read the complaint against Google. I read the settlement agreement. I read all the FTC stuff. I read the COPPA rule. You know, I sat here for 2 days and didn't draw and just read documents. Watched videos of people who, who I felt pretty competent to explain those documents, and that kind of thing. And but why do we do that? And that's really what I want to talk about. I don't want to talk about the rest of it, the damage. I'll talk a little bit about how I dealt with it, but I know we're not bad people. We're not bad people. There aren't any bad people. We just get caught up believing stuff that just isn't true. And we have to catch ourselves at it. I know I do. I always end up having to catch myself at it and say, now, wait a minute, just a minute. Is this really what happened? And I think it is human nature for us to do it, to automatically sort of go to the dark side. And I think it is self-discipline that can help pull us back from the edge. And that is, asking yourself, is what this person or these people or, this rumor, is it true? First, and if it's something that is so foreign to what you already know about the person, you have to take that into account as well, because that inner voice in your head, it's actually saying something right. It's saying, your gut instinct. If your gut instinct says, I always knew there was something suspicious about that person, well, then maybe that's the position that you want to hold. But if your gut instinct says, this goes counter to everything that I know about this person, then you might want to find out what is the issue. Who pissed in whose Wheaties, that kind of thing. I hope that's not a bad word for the YouTube listener. But it really does, sort of, it does a lot of damage. It really does a lot of damage. I can say honestly and truly that if it had not been for the people who reached out to me that first day, and what happened, of course, is that somebody attacked my integrity and my character on Instagram. Not even on YouTube, on Instagram. But it was the people were from YouTube. The people were from, they were people that I had met here on YouTube. And what they were saying was so patently against who I am and what I demonstrate, what I think I demonstrate as far as my own personal character, that I was, that particular morning, it was a Monday morning, I will never forget it. I immediately went into a state of shock. I mean, not panic, but actual shock. I was actually frozen. There was nothing I could do. Absolutely nothing I could do. I couldn't take a sip of my coffee. I was completely frozen in place. And then my phone, my messenger started to ding. And, people were writing to find out if I was all right and what in the world is going on. And it was those people that literally held me up for the next several days until I could get a response of some kind prepared. And now I don't always advise responding, but in this particular case, I am a business. I am not a hobby. I am a business. I am CLAldridgeArt. I had no choice but to respond. Now it isn't the same for a personal attack on somebody else, but I have a living to make, so I had no choice. I had to respond, and I did. By the way, that is the only video that I made that YouTube will not monetize, is my stand against bullying video. And which I think is pretty funny. It says, basically said your advertisers don't want to hear it. And I don't blame them. Wasn't a video I ever wanted to have to make. So anyway, but that being neither here nor there, the way that you deal with something like that, the way that I dealt with it, is to immediately and without further ado cut off all contact with people who treat you that way. And I did. I blocked them on all the platforms of social media that morning. I went through every single Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and just blocked all of it. Absolutely all of it. And all of the people that I knew were directly responsible for it, because that was never a secret to me. I always knew who they were, and I knew why they were doing it. So, but so that is, if you, and so that's, I guess, what I want to talk about is that gut punch of shock when something bad like that happens, and that you did nothing wrong. I think it would be akin to being falsely arrested for a crime that you didn't commit. The calm, rational part of your brain says, nobody could ever believe that I did this thing, and yet they're arresting you. Obviously there is something completely wrong. I didn't believe that anybody would think I'd actually done this thing, and yet people were shunning me. This lovely woman who just felt awful about it later admits that she was shunning me, on purpose, not knowing what to believe. So so the danger, or the damage is real. It really is real. And so I guess that if I want to offer any advice to anybody who goes through something like this, whether it be on social media or in your own social group, at your church, at your school, at your place of work, or anything like that, the first thing that you absolutely have to do is realize and ask yourself, did you do anything wrong? If the answer is no, calm down. Calm down, because there is right there your answer. You have no control over what other people are going to do or think about you. We just don't. All we can do is demonstrate who we are. And if the person that we are is the person that we're accused of being, that is going to show up loud and clear. If it's not, people are eventually going to figure it out, and indeed they do. So that that really is it. But you get that voice inside your head. We all know that we're our own worst enemies. Our own worst enemies. What if this person is, what if they're right? Well, you just have to ask yourself, are they right? And I heard some of the rumors. I heard a lot of them. And I did, in a moment of self-torture, I watched a ridiculous video on the subject. I'm sorry, the stuff that was being said in that video is just, it just wasn't true. Wasn't true of anybody that was talked about in there. And yet there wasn't any. There was, if I'd have fought back on it, that's the other thing. If your first desire is to respond, and that is exactly the last thing you should do. You shouldn't respond on a personal basis. I responded on a business level, and then I just left it alone. I did not talk about it again, other than occasionally having a chink in my armor, as far as how much I felt it. I mean, my numbers in my streams dropped dramatically. They're, fortunately they're back up now, but it was just, it was a little shaky there for a while for me, but I am adding a bit of a highlight. On these leaves. I don't know. They're awfully dark. And so I'm thinking that might have to do some outlining with a gel pen of some of the, to sort of pop them back out again. But I didn't want to go with lighter greens because lighter greens aren't really very Christmassy. So I think we'll be okay if I just do this and then do some gel pen outlining. So anyway, that is the other thing. And so just those two things. Recognize the real friends that you have, because they're the ones who will stand by you regardless. And thank goodness there were a whole lot of those. Also, previous folks who'd had this kind of issue with this particular group of people also reached out to me, which was very kind. Support came from places that I never had any hope that it would. People that have been on YouTube for a very long time, reached out not with words but with actions, with deeds. My book started to show up in places where I know that the person isn't really interested in the art that I make, but they did it to be kind. They did it to be kind. And then folks like Anne, who, went out of her way to make sure that my new book was reviewed by her, which exposed it, of course, to a lot of eyes because she has a big group and all of that, or a big subscribership. So count, if something, in your life happens, you will find out who your friends are, and then you will also recognize that there are people who will have just been caught up in what was going on, and that they're not bad people. They just, they didn't know who to believe. They just didn't know who to believe. Maybe they don't know you very well, or they don't, so I guess try not, it's hard not to take a personal attack personally, but if you try to, once again, just realize that you've got truth on your side, you don't necessarily have to, have to respond to it. Since then, I have I don't want to call it PTSD, because I don't think that's quite right. I am I'm far less forthcoming about anything. I don't, I don't, I just, it affects your ability to trust. When somebody that you thought was your friend turns on you in one person described it as Christine, they were singing your praises one day and poking at you with pitchforks on the next. Literally. My new book had just released. It was being shown in a lot of places. All of that stopped. It was scary. It was scary. I have to say it was one of the most frightening things that has ever happened to me. On a sheer terror level. Once again, I knew that it wasn't true. I knew I had nothing to worry about, but that doesn't, it's kind of like, it's kind of like a fear of heights. You realize with your logical brain that there's a big plate glass window there and that you're not going to fall out, right, of the tall building. But you can't go near the window because you have a panic attack if you do. So it's very akin to that. And so that's why I sort of stayed out of live streams. I didn't know who was going to welcome me or who wasn't going to welcome me. And, it got to the point where I didn't feel safe on YouTube anymore. So I just didn't go anywhere. I just stayed here on my own little channel, and I went to the places where I knew I was safe, which, had already identified themselves by getting in contact with me and saying, hey, we know you didn't do anything because we know who did this and we know why. So, because she did it to us too, or they did it to us too. So that is, so rely on, regardless of what the situation is in your life, whoever it is in your life. This was my personal, battle with it. But, we've all been bullied at some point in time. We've all had people, who don't have our best or anyone's best interest in mind. I am the one who decided to come public in YouTube and, expose myself to the possibility of this. And sure enough, it happened. And of course, my dear friend Virginia said, I tried to warn you. I love her. I love her. But, so I am very, very thankful. I am very thankful on this Thanksgiving Day for that message. Because that message released the dam. It released the fear. It released the idea that everybody in the world thought that I was, a horrible person who had done this horrible thing, which wasn't horrible in any way, shape, or form, and was never intended to be. the thing about it is that most people kind of got that. And I know that because, you know, it didn't take very long for people to start coming back and enjoying the show, kind of, so to speak. Oh my goodness, I've been talking for an hour and 17 minutes. All right, we're going to finish this. But I need a little break, so stay with me and I'll be right back. Okay, I think now we're going to go back to red. And why did I pull this one out? R427. Oh, this is old red. I wanted to see what that looked like. All right, so this is yet a different red. This is this particular red right here, which is called old red. And I wanted to see what it looked like. It may be too pink of a red. On the other hand, it may be the red I wanted all along, which would probably be the case. I was originally going to do this set of things green, but I'm thinking that a mixture of the two, red and gold, might be better. So we'll outline that. Then we'll do 4 colors in one flower, or in one leaf. So this is the lighter, and remember, all of this is going to get some gold bling on it as well. And then this is the super dark Argyle, which is the 338. So I want it for this part. And then I want this lovely sort of 218, which is this geranium red. I want it for these little guys out here. And I want to try and leave just a little highlight in them by only doing one side. I may end up sorry, I went all quiet on you there. I may end, yeah, because I do want to do a gold bling on the outside of that. So, yeah. So I'm gonna leave gilding the lily alone, and go for this. If I shut down the video or there's a edit here in a big hurry, it'll be because I put my I'm cooking myself a hamburger and it's in the broiler right now, so I may end up having to grab it up. Okay, so this is I have to go turn it over because it's in the broiler. I'm constantly multitasking. It's just what I do. When there's only one of you and you got to do everything, multitasking becomes the name of the game. Okay, so. So, how about all of you? What is your favorite thing about, I mean, for my American viewers, obviously, and even the Canadian ones, what is your favorite thing to have on Thanksgiving? What is it that you look forward to the most? For me, it was always stuffing. It was the only time of year that I got stuffing. And my mother made really good stuffing. Oh my goodness. She used the Mrs. Cubbison's spices, but she would painstakingly get all of the neck meat off the neck of the bird. You know, she would, she would put the giblets in the stuffing. That way I didn't know what I didn't know they were there. I didn't know what they were. And she never told me until when I got older and she was teaching me how to make her stuffing. That's when I knew that, she was putting the gizzards in. That's what the gizzards are. They're the kidneys and the liver and the neck, the neck meat and stuff like that. But the stuffing was so good. And I know that here in the South, that cornbread stuffing is a big, is a big deal. I didn't have that when I was growing up. I know some people put oysters in their stuffing. So there's a whole lot of different varieties of stuffing out there. Some people put dried apricots in the stuffing. And do you stuff the bird, or do you put your stuffing separately? I used to always, I would do what it says. I would stuff the bird loosely, and then of course there was always more stuffing, so I would put that in a separate casserole and make both kinds. So one was, I always liked the one that was in the bird because it was all soaked in the juices and it was all mushy, and that was my kind of stuffing. Anyway, I'll be right back. The broiler just clicked off. I'm just going to pause the video. Oops. Okay, and I am back. And I also have for later this week, I did buy some sweet potatoes since they're on sale at the grocery store. And I love sweet potato pie. So I will be making a sweet potato pie. But I just didn't have time or energy or inclination today. But that's okay, because you know what? Thanksgiving isn't about a day. It is about giving thanks for the things in your life that you are grateful for. The lights are on. It isn't cold outside, which is, it's not super cold outside, which means that the fact that the furnace still isn't fixed is okay. The space heater is doing its job. Beside which, that's what polar fleece was invented for, to keep us warm. Update on the car. For those interested, I did successfully get the appeal against this penalty that they wanted to impose. I got an appeal hearing. I don't know exactly when it will be. I do know that when I logged into the DMV, first thing on Tuesday morning that my driver's license shows valid again. Yay! So, hope springs eternal that that they just took what I said verbatim. Otherwise, I'm sure I'll probably have to show witnesses or whatever. I'm sure they'll send me something in the mail. But the car is now registered. The inspector, the city inspector, is off my back and having a wonderful Thanksgiving at home with his family instead of making arrangements to tow my cute little car out of the driveway. Yay. He could not have been nicer about it. I really do have to say. He was a very reasonable and kind gentleman to work with. Even the people on the other end of the phone at the DMV were lovely. So, here's the deal. If you live in Virginia, take it seriously when they tell you that if you own a car and it becomes uninsured at any time during the time that it is registered here, you will be in for a world of hurt. So don't let it happen to you. And that is my word of caution for the day. Just very quickly on, I'm going to go right back to this COPPA thing. I really do think anybody who listens to this, if you are a channel owner, that you do be careful with your video descriptions and your not necessarily that you need to make. And as a matter of fact, I see people doing it, and I wish that they weren't. I wish that they were not making generic thumbnails for their videos, because the thumbnail is the thing that gets people to click on your video. It isn't the notifications. It isn't the all of that. People are going to click on your thumbnail because it's in their recommended, and if it's an eye-catching thumbnail, then they'll do it. There's nothing wrong with bright colors. There's nothing wrong with any of that. You're not directing your stuff at kids. Kids are not going to click on it just because it's a bright color. If it's not a cartoon, they're probably not going to click on it at all. So if you're, posting an anime character, in bright colors, well, then maybe you might want to consider that one. But if you're just posting a colorful coloring book cover or something like that, you don't have to worry about that. Once again, the FTC has even said, who they're after and why they made that comment about shooting fish in a barrel is so that, the perpetrators of things like Blankgate will be caught, they'll all be in the same place. Not that they weren't all in the same place before, but now they're, now the FTC is actually looking for them. And I also watched a gentleman who has a big subscribership, also who does it's like over 50,000 which isn't big by the big guys' standards. The guys who are big are the ones with like 3 million subscribers. But but this guy has about 50,000 subscribers, and he basically does 100% Disney stuff. And he's not marking his channel as made for kids. He says, my channel is not made for kids. It's made for adults. So I'm not marking it as made for kids. And so he's not going to. And he says he may be wrong, but this is, he's got the demographics to show that kids aren't, kids by themselves aren't watching his show or watching his videos. I'm going to be very interested to see. I know I haven't had any flags. I know that, YouTube has flagged a few people, or, people in the coloring community have had a few videos flagged, but I take that more as a learning thing, so that we're learning what possibly could flag the system. In her particular case, I suspect it was the titles. And then I talked on Sunday about in Faith's case, at Faithful Mass, I thought it was probably her video or her channel description, since it says, that, she's also there for kids. So, oh, there goes that broiler again. Quick pause. Okay. Ooh, that was a lovely meal. And I really enjoyed it. And yes, I ate it while it was hot. So I have been gone for about an hour, but you don't know that. Or actually a little less than an hour. I am a spectacularly slow eater to begin with. And anyway, I think that I was talking about the possible flags, things that could flag the system falsely. And once again, I really do think it's important that as YouTube brings this new system on board, that that we stand up for ourselves and not just take their word for it. That that we're being labeled. In other words, don't let ourselves be labeled falsely. Which is pretty much the theme of the day. Be thankful for the things in your life that are good, and don't put up with the things that are not. Just, if it doesn't fit with your values, then don't let it into your world. And let's see here. Okay, so I am really liking the way that this turns out. I can hardly wait to post it in Marty's group. It isn't very often that I get to color his work. I've got a couple of works in progress of his that I started like over a year ago. But I've been working on them with Prismacolor pencils, and so it's obviously taking quite a bit longer because they are all very detailed, very they're beautiful. I mean, believe me, check out his books. There are flip through videos, I believe, of Marty's books, and I believe that most of them are in the reviews. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of books that have been reviewed, and if you just scroll down the page to where the reviews start, a lot of times the videos will be attached there, or links to the videos. I know that I want to call her Lil Reader. I think it's Lil. It could be ILL, or Illustrative Reader, whatever. She does silent flip-throughs, but she does a ton of them, and then writes, of course, a blog post for them. And all of those are linked. She links those in Amazon reviews, which is nice. And they're almost always in the #1 spot. So, as far as the first thing that you see when you come to reviews, most videos are on Amazon. If there is a video review, it'll be in that top line, along with pictures that different people post. I bet you didn't know that you could actually post your pictures to Amazon reviews. That's a interesting point to talk about. In my professional coloring book group, I was just in there, and I know that Jason Hamilton was asking, what various methods we use to get reviews of our books. And what I mean by reviews are, when you buy something on Amazon and then you start getting the emails about, have you left a review yet? Or can you answer this person's question about something that you bought that they're looking at? That kind of thing. I get them all the time. If I purchased something, they want to know if, there's a question that I can answer. Of course, most of anything that I purchase is, like technical. I bought a phone, a corded telephone. Yes, yes. Phones actually are still sold that have cords. I needed a spare one for my office, and so I bought one. And I've gotten a surprising number of questions on it, about which I tried to the best of my ability to answer. And I bought a splitter, a DSL line splitter, because you have to have the line splitter to be able to plug the phone into the FiOS system, that kind of thing. And I've gotten a bunch of, but anyway, I digress. What they were asking, what he was asking about. Now, obviously, you cannot ask people to leave reviews, but what you can do is, go into your Facebook group or something like that and say, hey, if you purchased my book and you can, would you mind leaving a review? Obviously, nobody who hasn't purchased the book is allowed to leave a review on Amazon. You have to have actually bought the item. It wasn't always that way, but it is now. So, another way that you can really help artists out, any artist whose book you buy, mine or anybody else's, is to leave a review with your thoughts. And because the more reviews a book has, it's just like YouTube. The more people view it, the more people get recommended to view it. And Amazon works exactly the same way. If you want your books to show up in recommends, the best way to do it is to have reviews. So, customers who write in and say, yeah, I like this. It's exactly what the person said it was going to be. And, keeping in mind, of course, that the author has no control over the paper that Amazon uses or anything like that. There is only one choice, or actually there are two choices. There's cream or bright white. Now, if we choose cream paper, the cream paper is slightly thicker, and, but then people say, but I like bright white paper. So, what do you do with that? You can either print it on white paper or print it on cream, but those are the only choices that we're given. You can print it on color paper, but if you do that, and that's paper made to actually take color, red, white, blue, that kind of red, blue, black, green, purple, whatever. But that paper is really expensive, and so a $10 book would then become $20. I mean, bottom line, that's the difference in cost. I know because I've looked at it as an option. And there are people who say, well, I'd gladly pay $20. Well, that's great. But I can't really do that. Well, I mean, I could, but I would sell so few of them that it would hardly be worth the cost. But at any rate, that's neither here nor there. Uh-oh, there are sirens going by. I do not like to think of people in distress. On Thanksgiving or any other time. I'm wondering if whoever it is maybe used a turkey deep fryer and set their house on fire. Oh boy, sounds like it's right in the neighborhood. I live in the oldest subdivision, an actual suburban subdivision in Virginia Beach. The original one, back when this would have been the boondocks of Virginia Beach, and is now actually all of there are thousands of houses in here that were part of this subdivision, and we all surround the new downtown. So one of the things I can see from my window are the huge towers of the downtown office buildings past the tree line. I am liking this one. I am liking it. Of course, Marty draws such pretty things. They're right up my alley. And I love to show off his work. He's got a thriving Facebook group as well. Tons and tons of members. Very active. Some absolutely stunning colorists belong to his group and regularly post really beautiful work. Oh, and I did want to say that I don't know that any of you that aren't on Facebook would know her, but Rhonda Francis, who is a photographer, she takes beautiful floral photography, close-up macro shots of blooms and things like that, has released her second coloring book. It's a grayscale coloring book. And I had put it on my wish list, certainly, and told her that if, that when I'm able to get it, I will actually do a video for her on it, and feature her on a Sunday guest artist spot, because it's just gorgeous. And of course, she posts the full color photograph on her Facebook page as well. You know, the one after she actually takes it. And she's just a really good photographer. Not only that, but she's got a green thumb, a seriously green thumb. And so she grows all of these flowers in her garden, and they are just beautiful. Or her mother's garden. She's always posting photographs that she's taken from over at her mom's house too. So. Trying to get these done so that I can get to the bling part. And we can do that. I think it'll be pretty. This is really pretty in person. I hope it's coming through that way, through the camera. I should know better than to eat red meat and then expect a function afterward. Getting a little punchy as far as needing a nap. But I want to get this video up before it isn't Thanksgiving anymore. And it's already 5:21 in the afternoon. I don't even know who won the football games or if they're all still going on. I suspect that they're all still going on. That's been weird for me to not have a professional football team to cheer for. I know that most Virginians automatically go for the Washington Redskins, but I actually like the Carolina Panther. Is it Carolina? No, that's the... Yeah, it's the Panthers or Carolina, aren't they? North Carolina? Or is that, I'm thinking of... Or are the Panthers Florida? I'll have to look it up. I think it's the Carolina Panthers. I honestly don't know. Not that I'm that big of a football fan, but, you know. I do watch the occasional game. I usually watch the Super Bowl, provided it's not going to be a rout. And as we approach, we're kind of late in the year, too, for football season. Before we even know it, January will be here. We'll be playing the Super Bowl. We used to have a annual Super Bowl party, and I had occasion to be talking to somebody yesterday who has given a temporary home to a Great Pyrenees dog that has been mistreated, and so she is serving as a halfway home to get the dog acclimated to being cared for again before it goes on to its permanent home, because it suffers from anxiety. So if you've ever seen a Great Pyrenees, they're large dogs. And imagine a Pyrenees suffering from anxiety, which just blows my mind because they're a very calm dog. But they're great herders. And I had a dog that was half Great Pyrenees and half Golden Retriever. And you'd throw a ball and he'd look at you like you were crazy. But you never had to worry about the kids at a party because the dog would have them all herded up in the center of the lawn. So, all right, let's back out just a tad and see where we are. This, doesn't have to have any bling, but let's give it some bling anyway. Let me get the gold watercolors out. Be right back. Okay, I have picked out taken my watercolors and dropped a little bit of water in there. And I picked out 2 brushes. Now, this one is a Royal and Langnickel, and as nearly as I can figure, it's a number 1 brush, which is a fine lining brush. But then I looked at another one of theirs, which has got a bigger brush on it, and it also said number 1. So I'm not sure what the deal is. The big brush that I got, this one's a number 8, and it is clearly marked, but their logo and stuff is in gold. It shines against this sort of mermaid finish, and it is very, very difficult to see even with a magnifier. So I'm just going to assume and say that this is a small brush and perfect for what I need it for. And then I have an even smaller one. This is an E-Boot number 3, 3/0. And this is actually a fine lining model brush. They make a set of these specifically to paint the pinstripes on little tiny model cars, actually, with enamel paint. So I have both of these brushes on the idea that they will give me one or the other of them will give me what I need. And let's see here. So this is the gold I'm going to use, and I did put a little bit of water already in here. I do want to sort of use it full strength. These are watercolors that I made with Pearl X pigments, but if you don't have Pearl X pigments or these kinds of things, you can use gel pen, or if you've got the Kiratakis, you could use those, the metallic ones. Coloro makes one. All kinds of people make metallic paints. You can just use a Pentel dual hybrid metallic gel pen. You could use your white Posca. You could use all kinds of things to add just little details in wherever you want them. And like these, I'm sort of extending these out. They were just little, decorations between the petals when Marty drew it. But so I'm just sort of going past them and adding a little bling there. I'm going past the ends. So basically what I'm saying is you can do whatever the heck you want. It's your page and you're the boss of it. But it's hard. I know it's hard to see right now on camera, but I will show it to you. And I love these watercolors made with mica powders. I'm going to be doing actually, I did do a whole palette full. This, by the way, is the palette of, now most of these are Daniel Smith, so this is what I was talking about earlier that Morticia had sent, and that white will never dry. I don't know what is going on with that. It arrived all the way from Sweden, wet, and it's still wet today, so it's got something to do with the titanium white paint. Okay. All right, now I think this one is probably the bright gold that I'm working with. I wanted it to be very shiny. So now I'm just outlining these leaves or these petals. And the reason why I wanted to have the yellow underneath is because occasionally this paint is a little less opaque than you want it, or not than you want it, but it's not intended to be full coverage. It's intended to be decoration, so it always helps to have a base color down underneath it. And when I get to the outlining of the actual leaves, you should be able to see this a little better as well. But I want to work it from the inside out so that I'm not putting my fingers and my arm and wrist and stuff like that into wet paint. Fortunately, it's water, so it doesn't take very long to dry. Oops. And if you had a hair dryer or something handy, you could just run it into the, even if you ended up just running it into the bathroom to blow on it with a blow dryer there. You don't have to set one up in your living room or dining room or kitchen or wherever it is that you sit down to color. Most of us, I think, like to do it at the coffee table in front of the TV or have a lap desk for when we're sitting and relaxing on the sofa and watching television. There is some kind of a creature that is climbing using I have a metal awning outside my office window that hangs over the deck. Or the back porch, I should say. And, which is a wooden deck. But, whatever it is, it's got claws, and I can hear it when it makes a leap from the tree to the awning. It's enough to scare the heck out of you. Okay, now, I can barely see these, so hopefully my head is not in the shot. Oh, I don't even think you can see that. But I can see it. Let's see if I can get it to zoom on it for you. See how it, right, well, you can see the bling that I'm adding. But then, can you see how that very fine line around two of those leaves? I'll do a few more and maybe you'll be able to see it better. That's really all I need. I don't need much more than that. I could try and make it a little brighter. Didn't mean to go all quiet on you. I'm just trying to find the line here. And the one cheery thing is that because they are so dark, if I'm not perfect, no one is ever going to know. You know? I love to play with the watercolors. How about you guys? Do you ever play with your watercolors? Do you even use watercolors? Have you tried them? Have you tried them in your coloring books? They work really good in coloring books. And it's not something that you would normally think of. You know, you would not normally think to go to watercolors for your coloring books, but it's like I said to Morticia the other day. I said, I don't want to use those expensive Daniel Smiths in coloring books. And she says, why not? Why not? I mean, there's enough watercolor there to last for years. Why not? It was an awfully generous thing of her to do, to send me those. So I desperately need to use them. Hang on a second here and I'll show you what is going on here. It's gorgeous. It really is pretty. I don't know if you can see it or not. There it is. Ooh, how about that? I'm liking it. I am liking it a ton. Okay, this video is running really long, so I'd better shut up and just add some more paint, or perhaps I will continue to film, but I'll just be quiet and add a little music and speed it up for y'all. Or not, you'll know whether or not I've done it if I do it. I might want to talk about something. I might think of something that comes to mind. Although considering that I actually use my voice so little, I've talked quite a bit today. A couple times a week I apparently develop a severe case of motor mouth. I'm sorry. I crack myself up sometimes. Motor mouth. That's too funny. Don't laugh and paint at the same time, Christine. It's detrimental to the fineness of your line if you laugh and paint at the same time. Oh yeah, I'm liking it. Oh yeah. It looks so pretty. Let's add something here in the center. There we go. A little bit of bling in the center. And I used my water brush instead of my spray bottle, so to wet down my watercolors. Because if I use the spray bottle, it wets down a ton of them at once, when all I really wanted to do was wet down the one. Okay, let me Let's see here. Let's decide what we want to do here. I'm just going to demonstrate here for a second. So let's go over that one. And then let's do this one out here. And then maybe just tiny bits along the stems of a few of these. Doesn't have to be all of them or all along the stem. Just maybe a few little spots here and there. Do one more so there's at least, I'll do two more so that way there's at least three for me to turn to the camera and go, ooh, look at this. I'll do this one over here. And then add just a little bit of I have been learning this technique from a new channel that I've been watching, and I'll link her, but I don't even remember the name of it right now. She was making these really cool watercolor cards that I saw today, and I will link that as well. So you can hardly see the, let's see if I can get autofocus to work here. Autofocus. Hello, autofocus. There you go. Come on. There you go. Can you see all the, see how the little fine lines that I put on the stems? Just little dots. So anyway. Oh, yay. Hello, autofocus. It works. Of course, it never occurred to me to actually zoom you down. See, I should not be playing with my camera here. I should concentrate on coloring. Okay, let me work this around, and I'll bring back the finished one so that y'all can see it, and we'll go from there. Okay, and here it is, the finished deal with all the bling done. And I think it's just really pretty. I could do, you know, some dots or something like that. But I don't know. I was thinking about doing dots on the inside of this one. But I don't think it's necessary. I think it's awfully pretty, just the way it is with those leaves outlined like that. Anyway, colored by CLAldridge, 1128, Art of Marty Woods. Be sure to check out his shop. It is listed in the description below. So, in summary today, it really is my firm belief that we don't have anything to fear. We in the coloring community don't have anything to fear from COPPA. Pays to, of course, err on the side of caution, make sure that our meta tags and our titles and our channel descriptions and video descriptions and things like that are compliant. But other than that, I mean, we've got access to demographics that tell us who our audiences are. And it's, mostly older folks like me, who absolutely love it. Secondly, when you hear stuff about people, try and verify it if you can before you grab the pitchforks. I am guilty of it as well, so I know exactly how easy it is. And sometimes it can be pretty hard to back up, as far as, if you ruin a relationship with somebody over something and then later find out it was a lie. I mean, that's a bummer for everybody. There's just no getting around that. And of course, learn to use if you're a channel owner out there, whether or not you do it as a hobby or as a profession, that you're going to earn money from, or you intend to grow your channel. Find out about those studio analytics. Use them. They're really, really helpful and really insightful. And they can help you make better videos if that's what you want. So, yeah. Always be kind to everybody. And until we meet again on Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, please color something pretty. Bye. Be sure to check out the description.